Greetings, everyone. Welcome back. It's Vin Ho. Today I've got a special guest. Chen, how are you doing?
Good. Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. So today we're going to talk about trade compliance, disrupting the industry with AI, and Chen's new company called Ginger Control. All right. So, Chen, quick introduction of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Chen. I'm one of the co-founders of Ginger Control, and Sean's unfortunately not here. He's quite busy at the moment. But yeah, we created this company, Ginger Control, to help with essentially trade compliance, utilizing AI in the right way to make everyone's lives easier. Because the tariff volatility last year, I'm sure you guys are keeping up with everything. It's a mess. So yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Ben.
All right. Cool. So let's learn a little bit about you, like where you grew up, your formative years, and things like that.
Yeah. So, my parents are originally from China, but I was born in New Zealand. And yeah, I grew up there up until maybe like 3 years ago. So that's actually where I met Sean as well. Sean, I think he went to New Zealand and he was around 11 years old. But went to the same middle school, had the same group of friends, and up until high school, we actually went to different high schools, but we still kept close because we really liked playing League of Legends. I'm not sure if you've played it yourself, but it's not really close, and yeah, that's kind of how we met. Up until university, my auntie, she had a customs brokerage in New Zealand, and even though I wasn't directly in the business, I was helping out here and there. So that's how I kind of got to know about trade compliance or just international trade in general. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of reading, a lot of understanding how running a business works. And I believe Sean, he went to the UK to study, and essentially up until 2023, I started my own business, and he had his own AI lab. He was doing a lot of research around AI, and then we linked up and we were just talking about how everything's going, and we both were quite passionate about geopolitics, and we discussed the whole political situation, as Trump came into place, and we were both quite curious about how tariff and trade war, how a lot of people struggle to keep up, how the current administration is using it as like sort of a strategic weapon in a way. But yeah, we spoke to a lot of importers, custom brokers, trade compliance people who all seem to be kind of drowning in a sense. But yeah, initially we were quite curious, but the more we dove deeper, the more we realized that I think there's a lot of underutilization of technology, and with Sean's expertise in AI and my expertise about how to start a business, how to distribute it, we kind of came together like, okay, we can actually start something here and genuinely help people in this field. So, unfortunately, my auntie's custom brokerage didn't go well. COVID hit her like a truck, but hopefully in this way, in a sense, I'm kind of paying homage. But yeah.
All right. So you guys are now based in Texas, and tell me a little bit about your progress after you guys got there.
Yeah, so originally I moved to Australia, Melbourne. That's where I met my partner, but we originally started in Australia, and the more we understood of the actual situation, the more we understood that okay, this it's actually hurting more people in the States. So after about a month of research, we're just like, okay, you know what? The only way we're actually going to know whether or not we can help these people is if we directly go and talk to the people in the ground. So essentially, we took a boots on the ground approach. So I flew into, I believe it was El Paso, not El Paso, South Padre Island, because there was a custom brokerage event, and went there, met a lot of great people, and just learned more about what's actually happening with the custom brokers there. And yeah, like we were right. People were struggling to keep up, and just more context, being a customs broker, it's quite hard to get its license as well, as you know then. So it's already quite a gate-kept field, and then for these people to struggle with the current situation, we're just like, okay, something actually needs to be done here, and hopefully we can actually do something. So we put our brains together. We got a couple other people as well. Tiffany, she's our product designer, and a couple of engineers. Essentially, we're creating a solution where we can properly use AI technology. And when I say AI, it's more so of data engineering as well. So how can we use data and AI together in a way that creates a compliance first AI augmented solution? So if you keep up with a lot of startups as well, a lot of there's a coined term called AI wrappers, which basically means a lot of startups are putting a shell on top of, for instance, like ChatGPT or like, I don't know, Gemini or whatever. It's not actually a newly AI engineered product. So a lot of these startups are using essentially these LLMs, out of the box LLMs, and it's giving the wrong answers. Like they're not compliant. Essentially, some person could ask, what is the HTS code of X product on ChatGPT, and it could give like the completely wrong answer. And this is actually quite scary, because if they use these answers from the general LLMs, the duties that they pay could be exponentially high, or like penalties. So the world lacks right now like essentially a compliance first AI. So that's kind of the mission we're going on here. And after we do that, we also see, with the whole tariff situation, is there a way we can assist people by, for instance, saving them a bit on their duties with these AI solutions? And yeah, that's kind of the general gist of everything.
Okay, so your company is called Ginger Control, and who's your target customer, ideal customer? Is there customs brokerage, customs broker, importers, small businesses, companies, all the above?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're still quite early. Initially, we wanted to target importers, right? But we realized that ultimately, like for instance, the first tool we made, which is a tariff simulator, custom brokers, logistics people, importers, exporters, they could all use it. Like it is a way for people to figure out the duties on X code, X HTS code, and then compare it to country by country. And then the second tool we actually released a couple of weeks ago, the classification tool, that can also be used by like not just importers but also customs brokers as well. So if you were to ask me exactly who we're targeting right now with said products, it could be like anyone that needs to, for instance, needs trade compliance. But I think in the long term, yeah, it'll probably always be like a mix, to be honest. Like, and honestly, I can't tell you what our company will look like in like 5 months from now, because there's so many changing things. But as of right now, we're essentially helping everyone that needs trade compliance. So, yeah.
Okay, so the way I understand it, you use AI to do data analysis, provide information, and to help importers kind of save on the tariffs, that type of thing. So that's could be meaningful savings for any importer or business or companies that are importing product from overseas. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Now, you've got, I think, a few people working there yourself, Sean and Tiffany, as you had mentioned, and it is a startup. And then how have you been able to acquire customers or get the word out? And, that type of thing. Did you go to ICPA? Did you have a booth? Did you talk to people? How are you getting the word out about Ginger Control?
Great question. Yeah, so I think that before we get into it, I think like the important thing is, first of all, is there a problem to solve? And secondly, are the people willing to try a new solution? And I think that comes before you actually try to distribute anything. And upon going to these events like ICPA and like these custom brokers communities, like we verified that yes, there is a problem. And then so once we met all these great people and talked to them and understood the problem, we asked them, hey, look, is there anyone actually providing a valid solution? And at the time, there wasn't. And then, after asking, hey, look, if we create X, Y, Z, and it could help you with said problem, are you willing to try it? And they're like, yeah, for sure. So after that was verified, that was when we actually started, okay, how are we actually going to move this business forward? So in terms of distribution, there's a few strategies, but I think really the most important part is building genuinely great connections and relationships, like just meeting people one-on-one, face-to-face for a coffee, learning about their problems, their business, their life, seeing what exactly you can help with. I think it sounds quite simple, but I think it's really effective, especially in this day and age of digitization. Like the world lacks a lot of real in-person connection. So I think that's something that I really value as well, and I think a lot of our customers value too. So yeah, like apart from that, it's just also creating insightful blogs about whatever the problem is that week. Like for instance, I made a blog about the semiconductors section 232 article on my LinkedIn. You can check that out. But yeah, I think all it just comes down to is building great relationships and providing as much value as possible. That's really it. But then when it comes down to specific strategies like using social media, using written content, using videos, essentially utilizing all sorts of channels as much as possible. But
sure,
hopefully that answers the question. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So we mentioned a couple times ICPA. It's an annual conference. I believe it stands for International Compliance Professional Association.
Yes.
And you mentioned it was in Texas most recently. Tell us a little bit about that conference. How many people? What are some of the subjects? The talking points. Who's it good for? Who's targeted? That type of thing.
Yeah. So it was in Dallas. Excuse me. Dallas. I believe it was October last year. Yeah. My first kind of big trade compliance event. Say there was around maybe it was quite big too. I think around 200 to 300 people. A lot of new faces, a really warm and welcoming community. And I think it's just for my culture shock as well, because I originally lived in New Zealand and Australia, and people there aren't as necessarily kind of outspoken there compared to Texans. But yeah, so first event, great people, great food, and in terms of the topics, like just pretty much what I said earlier. A lot of people struggling to keep up with not only the regulatory updates, but also the specific citations in terms of how do we actually understand the Section 232s? How can we actually do proper evaluation of said materials? And I think it's because CBP doesn't give these specific objective kind of answers, which is why people have these kind of struggles in the first place. But this whole field already has so much complexity as well. And if you think of the structure of how information is passed as well, like someone from the top, decide, for instance, executive order is given, and then it goes to the port director, and then it's not just one port director; it's a port director for every port in the US. So, for instance, you might have a classification code that's valid for this product in a port on the East Coast, but they might be completely different on the West Coast. So there's just a lot of different variables, and it's hard to have a clear kind of approach to every situation when it comes to trade compliance. So I think that would be to put it the easy way. But yeah, I think in a way trade compliance is really similar to legal and law as well, because you're reading a lot of these different official documents and deciphering what this actually means. And I think that's one of the main things newcomers also struggle with too. Like I know there's not as many younger generations coming to the field, not only because of how complex the field is, but no one really wakes up and then suddenly decides, hey, look, I want to be a customs broker. I want to be a trade compliance professional. So personally, I think there's a lot of complexity and layers that's not really welcoming to a lot of new people, and that's one point. Second point, like the system, the inherent system of how everything works in trade compliance is just so unorganized, and it's just from the HTS database. Like the government could easily make a searchable kind of option where essentially people don't need to type word for word. They could have, for instance, aliases, because if you've used the HTS database, if you search up the word pig, it doesn't really come up with anything. It's like they use the word swine a lot, and there's just so many things to be improved, which is a shame, because I know a lot of people are struggling, especially last year. Like a lot of mom and pop shops closed up because of the insane amount of duties. Yeah, sorry for going on a little rant there, but hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, getting back to the conference and industry in general, what I heard too in the past is like you said, they're mostly older white people in the industry, customs brokers, people that run logistics companies, and it's not very, very diverse. There's hardly any Asian Americans or African Americans or people of color. That's what I've heard. I've never been to the conference myself. Is that kind of what your take is? What you saw?
I don't really, I personally don't really pay attention to like the ethnicity distribution, but like I think from the ICPA example, there were a few colored people. Like I met a few great customs brokers that were also of Chinese descent, and I think because this profession is also it's quite an old profession, and a lot of immigrants that do come from these countries like China, Korea, or Japan, or Southeast Asia. I think logistics perhaps isn't something that a lot of them go into, which explains the said current state. But just a personal thing, I don't really notice that much of a difference in terms of the output from the people as well. So yeah, it could be true. I just haven't really paid attention to it. But I think you might be right. There may be more, for instance, Europeans or like white people compared to colored people in this field. But yeah, nevertheless, everyone's really great too. There's not really much of a difference between each kind of people.
Mm-hmm. And then I noticed recently you were on the Simply Trade podcast. Tell us a little bit how that came about. I'm interested in how you were able to meet Anna and get on the show.
Yeah. So I met her at ICPA actually, and then she was interviewing one of my good friends, Jake. And we just hit it off. We had a great conversation. She knew I was new. Essentially, when you go to these events, they can tell you're a first timer based on the badge you're given. And then it was just like, I got this badge, and it was a bright pink badge, so everyone knew that, this guy's a new person, so hence why they were probably so nice. But yeah, it had a great talk, I love what she's doing with Simply Trade, great person. And, she hit me up and then was interested in what we were doing, wants to help us out, because we are still an early stage startup. And yeah, like I said, I think not even just customs brokers, just every kind of field, it really... genuine relationships really build companies. I think if I didn't go to these events and I didn't actually have a proper conversation with these people and learn about their problems and learn about their day, then none of this would have happened. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good point. Now, before we close out, you want to share maybe the next kind of things you have planned next 6 months or year, or with the company, or what your plans are?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, we released our first version of the classification assistant like 2 years ago, and we're about to release the 2.0. And right now, the classification tool only does single product classification, and in the next one, we'll be able to do bulk classifications too. So you can upload, multiple rows of data, and that will help you to classify to make it really easy for you. That's just in terms of the product, but in terms of the direction, I think, because we're still at a very early stage, I think the main thing for us is just talking to more people, to be honest. Talking to more people in the field. This is such a big industry, and it feels like every day I'm learning something new. I'm still learning something. I'm still reading about like the new kind of changes that are happening with the tariffs and everything. It's just, I can already feel the cognitive burden about being a customs professional. So a compliance professional. So yeah, I think talk to more people, refining our product, understanding what exactly we're solving in terms of the big picture. But like I said, we're taking so much information that could even change in a few months. So, but yeah, all in all, creating an AI tool to assist with compliance, and it can also reduce your duties. That is essentially the motto here.
Excellent. All right, so that is Chen, one of the co-founders of Ginger Control, an AI-powered solution for trade compliance in the 21st century. So thank you, Chen. I'll leave your contact information and company link below. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ben.